Hi, this is Josh Kulp. This is the video for Daf Peh Daled, page 84 of Masechet Ketubot for Daf Shevui. And I wanted to talk about a subject this week that sort of gets mentioned in the Mishnah already way back in the beginning of the parak, but also gets focused on in the beginning of our sugya, in the beginning of page 84, and that is the notion that a husband inherits from his wife. I should note that the machloket, or the issue in our sugya, is not whether or not a husband does or does not inherit his wife's property, but rather the issue is what's the legal status of that inheritance. Does he inherit her from Torah law, or does he inherit her from rabbinic law? Generally, that would not make a difference. Right? The husband would inherit his wife's property, period. And what do we really care whether it's biblical or rabbinic law or where the origin of it? The bigger real issue is something that's really not addressed, and I wanted to talk about now. How do we know that a husband inherits his wife's property? It seems that all Tanaim, all rabbis agree that a husband is the primary inheritor of his wife. And to us, that makes sense because in our world, spouses inherit from each other. But I should note that in rabbinic law or in Jewish law, it's not egalitarian, as many things are not. A husband inherits his wife's property, but a wife never inherits her husband's property. It is a true patriarchy. Money or property that is in the husband's ownership stays in the husband's ownership and would be passed down to his male children or his female children. If he doesn't have male children, if he doesn't have any kids, it would go to his brother, potentially back to his father if his father is still alive. Under no circumstances does a wife inherit her husband's property, but under basically all circumstances, as long as they're still married, a husband inherits from his wife. The question is, where does this come from? I'm going to read you the passage in the Torah that talks about inheritance law. It comes up at the end of the discussion of the daughters of Tzlochad. After saying the daughters of Tzlochad can inherit from their father, in chapter 27 of Numbers, the Torah goes on and says, "Speak to the Israelite people as follows: if a man dies without leaving a son, you shall transfer his property to his daughter. If he has no daughter, you shall assign his property to his brother." So first priority, son, then daughter, then brothers. If he has no brothers, you shall assign his property to his father's brothers. Rabbis add in here his father takes priority. If his father had no brothers, you shall assign his property to his nearest relative in his own clan, and he shall inherit it. All right, so there's a word over there in Hebrew, unatatem et nachalato leshe'ero, that you shall give his property. The simple reading is to his relative. But the Midrash darshans this, the Midrash in the Sifrei, and also in the Bavli and Bava Batra 111b. One Midrash reads the word leshe'ero to mean his wife. She'er can often mean somebody with whom you are having a sexual union, and they read this verse, it's really quite against the simple reading of the verse, that a husband inherits his wife. Another verse that in the same Midrash is Vayarash Ota, right? And he shall inherit it, right? The pshat of the Midrash is that he shall inherit it, the land. But we could also read that a little more creatively, Vayarash Ota, he shall inherit her. Again, if you look at those verses, and I would encourage you to open up the Torah and look at those verses, you'll see that this is nowhere near the pshat. Where do the rabbis really get it from, the notion that a husband inherits from his wife? Assumedly from Greek and Roman law. It's also to a certain extent, I think, common sense in a society in which a wife moves into her husband's home. She brings whatever property, and it belongs to him unless the marriage is dissolved. But clearly, if you were to look in Greek and Roman law, you would find that under normal circumstances, a husband does inherit his wife. What the Torah really thinks about it, We just don't know. Sometimes the Torah does not give us simple answers to these kinds of legal questions.